Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each episode, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and just gets real. Today, I'd like to welcome Suki Van Koeverden. Did I get it right?
Yes,
Close
yes.
enough
Thank you for
anyway.
having me. Yeah.
Suki, how are you today?
I am good. I'm really good. I'm really glad it's Friday. I'm really glad that I get to relax this weekend. So yeah, I'm feeling good. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm doing fantastic. It's not quite Friday yet here, so you're living in the future as far as I'm concerned. But
I am, yes.
yeah, it's coming, and I'm happy about that. So we're all good, and I'm happy to be here with you today. So I'm looking forward to our conversation. Now the rules are simple. For the next 20 minutes, we can talk about anything you want but your business. Afterward, you'll have 5 minutes to pitch up a storm. But if you talk about your business during the 20-minute interview, we'll take off a minute of pitch time for each infraction. So we gotta keep you honest here, right?
Yeah, sounds
All
good.
right, you ready to play?
Yes.
Good deal. All right, let's go ahead and start the clock then. And what would you like to talk about for the next 20 minutes?
So I guess we kind of met and introduced myself to you as a classic middle child with
Mm-hmm.
middle child syndrome. So my sister did it first and my brother did it cuter. So I had to do everything more extreme and crazier. I guess I was kind of set up a little bit that way from the start with a name like Suki.
Mm-hmm.
So my sister's name is Sarah, my brother's name is Sam. Yes, we're all S's. I got the crazy name. So yeah, I guess I kind of was set up from birth to be a little bit different, do things a little bit differently. So I've lived up to that name and that reputation, and it served me well, and I've had a really good life so far.
Very cool. Believe it or not, I have met another person in my life named Suki. Uh, but I neglected to ask, so I'm going to ask you if you know what the meaning of the name is.
Yes, so at least where mine comes from. So my full name is Sukina, so Sukina,
Okay.
or in Japanese, Skina. And I've been told by many people that it's more of a phrase, like so you would preface it to something you really like. So Skina sushi or Skina podcasts would be, I really like podcasts, I really like sushi. So
Oh,
something that you really like or you're really fond of or really affectionate of.
oh, how very cool.
Yes.
Oh, and how fortunate. You could say weird or strange, but I think it's fortunate personally.
Yeah, it's
So
beautiful. I love it.
a badge of honor. So, well, fantastic. Well, I can't relate to the middle child syndrome because I was the only child, so I was all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But so how did that affect you? I mean, you say you kind of had to find different ways of getting out there. So, how did that manifest in your adult life?
Yeah, so I probably started quite early. So I probably my first big thing was going to uni. So I was the first in my family to go to university.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm originally from the UK, now living in Australia, hence I'm in the future.
Oh,
So I yeah, in the UK, when you go to university, you move away from home, usually fairly far away from home. So kind of just said to everyone, hey, guess what? I'm going to uni, moving 3 hours away, and yeah, I'm kind of leaving next term. So did that, and that was a massive change, but it was also hugely freeing, as you can imagine.
sure.
I chose to study sociology and French, whilst most of my friends were doing, chemistry and biology and maths and the future kind of job prospects. They were thinking of that, whereas I was just thinking of sociology sounds really awesome. I absolutely love it. Get to talk about sociologists and philosophers and social theory and psychology of society and all of that stuff. So
Oh,
I chose joy instead of job prospects. Became fluent in French. In the UK, if you study a second language, you have to go and live in a country that speaks that language.
oh,
So,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
so the third year of uni, I packed up and went to France to teach English for a year. So that was probably one of my favorite years of my life. So many amazing opportunities, and I kind of just had the attitude of saying yes to everything. So someone knocked on my door in my apartment block and said, "Oh, just let you know we're having a party. It might get a bit loud." So I said, oh, okay, no worries. And they said, oh, you're English. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, you should come along and, meet some people because you probably don't know many people here. So I was like, okay, go along. Ended up playing Yahtzee in French with my really poor French. No idea how to play it in English even. So yeah, it was just kind of taking every opportunity that came and making the most of everything. And yeah, so that was probably like my first real huge experience of being a bit different, doing things differently, and choosing joy over job prospects and saying yes even though it put me outside my comfort zone.
Absolutely. And that had to be a wonderful experience and something that you are never, ever going to forget.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. So many, we'd just go to the train station and pick a random destination and go for the weekend and just go and explore and check out the art museums and, eat food we'd never eaten and hop across the border to Belgium and go and explore and eat lots and lots of chocolate. So yeah, it was fantastic.
Wonderful. So I spent a little time in France, but not enough to say that I understand the culture. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a very different thing, and especially for from coming from the States, it's a little unnerving, but at the same time, you find out pretty quickly that people are just people anywhere.
Yes, 100%.
And most of them, if you're at least trying, will give you a pass. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. They're a little bit less friendly to the English because they have this sibling rivalry thing going.
Oh, okay.
Like the French love to hate the English and the English love to hate the French. We're kind of like brothers and sisters that always fight, but at the end of the day, we still love each other and tourists for each other's countries. So yeah, they kind of, oh, you speak French. Well, you'll never speak as good a French as us. Or, oh, you don't speak any French. Well, I speak a bit of English. So it's like this competitive attitude. But at the end of the day, we love each other. And yeah, France is
that's really cool. Well, you hear that, France? We love you, everybody.
Yes,
You're loved.
love you so
it's
much.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Going back there next year, and I'm super, super excited.
Well, wonderful. That is wonderful. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic time. Do you have specific plans, or is it just
Yes, yeah. So I'm heading back to Lille, which was the town that I taught in. So okay. Yeah, so it's in the north of France, and it's quite close to the Belgian border. So yeah, I'm so excited. Yes, more chocolate. May take a day trip to Paris, mostly crepes and croissants and pain au chocolat. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm really excited.
Beautiful. So tell me about this experience of having a backpack and a tourist visa and a very vague plan and going, you know what? Australia is where I want to be.
Yep. Another one of my crazy adventures.
Okay.
So back in my 20s, I had a boyfriend who was turning 30. As us English, we can only get visas until we're 31 for Australia. So he said, something I really want to do. So I kind of weighed up the pros and cons, and I asked for a sign as to whether I should move over to Australia and give it a go. And as I was walking to work, a truck pulled up beside me and there was a flyer stuck to the side of the truck that said Aussie rules football. So it says different rules of football they have here. And I thought, okay, Aussie rules, let's go. So I sold all of my stuff and packed a backpack and had a vague plan, moved over here knowing that I'd been here before and knowing that I pretty much wanted to stay. So yeah, I came over here. We had to work on a farm for 3 months. So us POMs, as they call us, when we come over, if we want the second year visa, we have to do 3 months farm work or kind of out of the city rural work. So yeah, packed up and went to a sheep farm.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely amazing. Like just such a different experience. And again, disclaimer here, I don't think every middle child has the same experience and has to do things radically or move to the other side of the world or live on a sheep farm. This is just my experience. I incorporated that into my personality and kind of, just went a bit out there. So the sheep farm was absolutely amazing, run by two incredible original Sydney-siders, originally from Sydney, and then they moved out to Victoria to start a sheep farm or take over a sheep farm, and they took us in and fed us and gave us a job, and yeah, we basically, pregnancy scanned the sheep to see when they were lambing, kept them safe when they were lambing, moved them from paddock to paddock for the paddock rotations, driving around on quad bikes, weeding, even built a tennis court at one point.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an absolutely rich experience. I mean, I'm sure it was work and not all of it was all that much fun. Yeah, I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I'm still kind of stuck a little bit on you said something like back when I was in my 20s, and I was like, wait a minute, what? What do you mean back in your 20s? Like, how have you gotten out of your 20s?
I have a baby face. I'm in my 30s. I'm in my 30s now. So I'm in my mid 30s. So yeah, I think I moved over here when I was 24, maybe. So 24, 25, yeah.
Okay, so I've been there for a while, and so how is life compared to the UK?
It's very different. It's different and it's not different. So, I mean, it's a very similar culture, and it's a very similar culture to the US as well. In fact, we have a lot of US influence here in Australia with the TV shows and the culture and the cars and the fashion and everything. But I think there's a really big thing to be said for vitamin D. So we get so much more sunshine here in Australia, and people are friendlier. So I remember when I first moved here, and I was at work, and I got in the lift after work, and there was a guy in there, and he was like, "Oh, hey, how you going?" And I was like, "Oh, here we go." And I was like, "Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?" In the UK, when you get into a lift or an elevator, you don't speak to anyone, you don't look at anyone, you just kind of like stand there awkwardly until it reaches ground floor. So I was like, okay, why is he talking to me? So I asked, how are you? And he was like, yeah, I've had a really busy day. Can't wait to get home to my wife and kid. Like, I've just got a newborn, and, she's just been born, and so in love with her and all this. So I was like, oh, okay, awesome. You're just genuinely being friendly. You're just a friendly guy. Got out of the lift or the elevator. He said, have an awesome evening, and walked off. And that was it. And I thought, wow, okay, people just here, they're just friendly. That's just how they are. Even, in the supermarket, when you put all your stuff on the conveyor, you get to the checkout assistant, and the first thing you say to each other is, hey, how you going? How's your night been? Have you been busy? You have a conversation whilst they're scanning your groceries and you're packing them away. So it's so much friendlier and so much more open and so much more, I don't know, just welcoming, I guess. I felt so welcomed and at home the second I moved here. So yeah, I love it to pieces.
That's really cool, and it has to be a positive change. In here in the U.S., I mean, in more country areas, it's a little bit different. But in the cities, you do not make eye contact.
No.
Not if you do, unless you want to get into it with somebody, unless you want to come to fisticuffs, man, you do not make eye contact. It's just because the other person is probably either in a bad mood or they're crazy, and you just don't want to get into all that. So, I can imagine what a relief and what an interesting change it would be to go into a situation where people are genuinely friendly like that.
Yeah.
I mean, so did it take you a while to adjust? I mean, how you reacted? Because I mean, obviously, you get those almost the subconscious triggers, from from what you get used to. And you usually say get used to, I guess maybe almost being guarded. I guess is the way. So did that take a while to acclimate?
Yeah, 100%. It did take I'd say probably about 6 months settling in and getting used to it and accepting that it's kind of universal here. Everyone's friendly. It's not just because someone has a hidden agenda or they want to get something from you or ask something from you or anything like that. But yeah, I think there's been quite a few changes and things to get used to. So there's a huge coffee culture here. When I say coffee, I don't mean big brand chain stores. I mean like boutique kind of coffee experience. And we kind of shun the big chains here. They've not done very well when they've tried to break into the Australian market because we're so strong about supporting local businesses and locally brewed stuff, locally grown stuff. So there's so many aspects of the culture I suppose now I take for granted that I actually really love about being here. I wasn't a coffee drinker before I came here at all. I found that most of the kind of business decisions and meetings and networking and friendships formed when people went out for coffee breaks. So I started going out on coffee breaks and just ordering a tea, being English. And then I kind of, started trying coffee and got to like it. And now I'm on about 3 cups a day. I probably shouldn't admit that. Yeah, it's a big thing here. And that's just a small difference that I've noticed. But yeah, the kind of personality and the interaction and, where we live now, we're in Queensland. We're not in a major city. We're slightly outside of Brisbane.
Okay.
And it's a small peninsula and it's very much locals for locals. So my husband is a tradesman and he's always asked, are you local to the peninsula? Do you live around here? It's kind of the sussing out process for them. They want to make sure they're supporting local businesses and, I really love it. It's not, there's no sinister intentions. It's not like, oh, I'm not going to use you if you're not local, but it's like, okay, awesome. I get to feel cool about supporting a local tradesman. So yeah.
Really cool. Now, I was talking to another Australian gentleman last week, and he complained of the necessity for kangaroo dodging when driving. And I just want to verify this because, God, I love Anthony English. He's a wonderful guy. But I'm like, kangaroo dodging, is this a real thing?
Yeah, it is. It's not so much in the cities, but yeah, definitely a thing on country roads. So when I first moved here, I did the obligatory traveling between Cairns and Sydney. So it's a pretty huge stretch. And that probably lasted a couple of months. Especially when you're driving at night. So they're usually quite lazy and sleepy during the day. They come out at night and they like to hop across the roads, and they're really big. They're so much bigger than you ever imagine if you've never seen one before. And they make a big mess of your car if you come into contact. So if you stop and they kind of decide to kick, then they can cause some significant damage. So you do want to dodge them. You don't want to upset them. Obviously, you don't want to harm them, as that's the biggest concern.
Sure.
So you kind of avoid them, or you're just always on the lookout. So the driver's driving, keeping a lookout, and the passenger's kind of like keeping an eye on the verge to make sure there's nothing going to hop out and head across the road. But yes, it's a real thing. I can attest to that.
They're fast too, aren't they?
They can be. Yeah, they can.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah. See, here in the States, it's mostly deer. But it's just the same thing. They're just not bright enough to adhere to the deer crossing signs. So it's just, in fact, Anthony told me if I moved there, I could probably make a fortune selling kangaroo crossing signs.
Yes.
To the kangaroos.
Definitely.
We'll see what happens. Okay, well, we got a couple minutes here left in your part, but we're doing great. You have any last story thoughts to share before we get into the business end of things?
Probably just for anyone who's listening and thinking, I don't have the confidence to move to the other side of the world, or, I don't speak French, I can't go and live there for a year. I'd just say, if this sounds like a lot of fun and it sounds like inspiring and that you want to have the same experiences, I'd just say yes to a few more things, obviously within reason. Don't put yourself in danger, but yeah, what experiences could you have in your everyday life that you could say yes to that puts you a little bit outside your comfort zone so you can grow and experience amazing things? Go to a town you've never visited, take your family over the weekend and just stay in a motel and, see if you can find some kangaroos for the Aussies or some deer for the Americans, and, try a local coffee place instead of going to the chain store you always go to. Just order something different. Every now and then I like to order something different to my regular chai or coffee, and, turmeric lattes are a big thing here at the moment. I don't know if they're big over there. Give one of those a go.
I'm sorry, turmeric lattes, is that what you said?
Yeah, like the spice. Yeah, they're a big thing.
Wow. You know what? I would try it, but it sounds terrible.
Yeah. So try it and then maybe order your regular order after that.
Okay.
But just take experiences and do something a little bit different. And you don't have to move to the other side of the world. It could just be a holiday or a day or, something you've always wanted to do. Like when I was young, I always knew I wanted to speak another language. I love speaking other languages. So I knew that would be a big part of my future. So hence studying French and living there and becoming fluent. So yeah, you know, if there's people around you who speak Spanish or French or Italian, just, you know, ask if they can teach you a couple of words. Or I have one word I always ask people in another language when I meet them, and it's butterfly. So I say I'm a butterfly collector in other languages. So I always ask people one word, and it's butterfly. I love learning butterfly in other languages. It's always so different, and it's completely not useful because, you know, the context you're ever going to need to say butterfly is really rare and few and far between. But yeah, it's a really beautiful word to learn in a lot of different languages.
Wow, that's absolutely, that is beautiful. You know, I knew a guy years ago who endeavored to learn the phrase, "Oh my God, there's an axe in my head," in every language possible. So I like this. This is nice. This is nice and probably more useful, I would hope.
Yes. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. So we'll go with that. Well, listen, you have successfully completed the 20-minute Lee After Dark Not Talking About Your Business challenge with flying colors and invisible confetti. So being a man of my word, I want to make sure you have 5 minutes to talk about your business and anything you want where people can get a hold of you, make an offer. Floor is yours.
Okay, awesome. So besides offering you or inviting you to do something a bit different and say yes to something a bit different, so my business is also completely different, like my name, as you would expect. So I am a competition strategist by trade. So if someone's launching a business or a podcast, or they work in a business that needs to collect more leads or drive more sales or find out some intel about their customers, then I design a competition around that to find out more and generate some sales for their business. So completely niche, completely random. I don't, to this date, know of anyone else who does it. It's kind of my superpower, I guess, to speak to someone and ask them about their business and their goals and where they're heading and what they want to achieve with their business, and then kind of pull out all the elements that I can see that are relevant and work together, and then bring them together to say, okay, so what I'm hearing is this is what we could do. And they're like, wow, that sounds amazing. So that's kind of my superpower. Like in the movies, there's a superhero movie, and he kind of needs to look at the bigger picture. So he kind of brings everything up, and he sort of walks around and, you know, taps a few things and then grabs a few things and brings it together. That's like what I see my job in life. And I think it's probably reflected in my experiences that I've talked about today. You know, going to France, moving to the other side of the world, going to university, saying yes to things, you know, doing a bit of traveling, being a middle child, playing Yahtzee in French. You know, all of these amazing, unique experiences have come together to create me and my business. And yeah, it makes me really good at what I do. So if you're a small business or you're a marketer in a business and you want to run a competition for your business to launch it or grow it or achieve a specific marketing objective, then you can tell I'm a talker. I'd love to talk.
Fantastic. And so should they go to, you have origamiglobe.com, or is there a different website they should go to find more information?
Yep, so it's origamiglobe.com.
Okay.
And that's where you'll find everything.
We've got your socials on here too. What we'll do is we'll put all these in the show notes so that people can get in touch with you. Any parting words?
I absolutely love the concept of this podcast. It's brilliant. You. Absolutely love it. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everyone for listening. It's been a real pleasure.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you, and thank you for sharing a glimpse of your exciting life and encouraging us to make our lives a little more exciting as well. We are out of time, but if you found Lee After Dark more relevant and entertaining than most of the dreck out there, then subscribe to the Lee After Dark YouTube channel. And now, get Lee After Dark in your pants. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Stitcher, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and who the heck knows where else, so you can enjoy us wherever you stick your phone. Until next time, this is Lee Rowley with my new friend Suki Van Koeverden. I tried to do it without looking. I tried. I wanted to do it without looking at the, be present and be well.